Hello, good morning, good midday, good afternoon, whatever time you're listening to the Peng Sports Podcast. Hello. I also find it interesting that there is no greeting for the middle of the day, lunchtime. From about 11 to 1 o'clock, good afternoon is not acceptable. From 12 to 1, it really isn't. And good morning isn't really acceptable after 10:45. So we need to introduce something new, something innovative. So I created Good Midday. Will it stick? Will it not stick? Who knows? Good sun. The sun's at the highest point during the middle of the day. So good high noon. That could work. We're just spitballing here. But we need a new greeting from 1 to 11. From 11 to 1, excuse me. It is 7 o'clock a.m., 7:33 to be exact, so you probably round up. It's 8 a.m. right now. It's the Peng Sports Podcast, episode 31. How are you all doing this week? Did I already ask that? Well, I'm asking you again. How are you doing this week? Halfway done? Hopefully you're doing well. As I said, this is Peng Sports Podcast, episode 31, and it's about that time, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's that time to jump ship on Chelsea. Because it's easy to get back on the ship, first of all. So if they start doing well again, which they probably will, probably this week they'll win. They may beat whoever they play in Champions League this week, today. But if you jump ship now, you can get back on during Christmas or during international break. But I think I'm jumping ship now. And no, I'm not the prisoner of the moment. You're the prisoner of the moment. You're basing Chelsea's performances off of an out-of-form Spurs side, an out-of-form Arsenal side, and the Liverpool game, which they sat back and Liverpool couldn't break them down. But I do not think Chelsea will be the flashy pick by March, by February, right? Manchester City beat them 1-0. That's why I'm jumping ship. I guess it's not a surprise. After one loss, you jump ship. No, you shouldn't do that. But I'm saying Chelsea decided to sit back against Man City. They weren't bringing the game to Manchester City. The way they beat Manchester City in the Champions League final is going to be... It won't work anymore. You know? They have more creative players. They have more panache to say. You know? They could put Grealish at left wing. They could put Sterling at left wing. They could put Gabriel Jesus at striker. They could put Riyad Mahrez at right wing. Bernardo Silva at right wing. You know? Phil Foden can come off the bench now. De Bruyne can come off the bench. They have more options. Rodri. You know? Not Rodri. God, what's the young striker's name? Spaniard. You know who I'm talking about. They have him who's more comfortable in the system. It's just more dynamic team, and they're going to attack from all facets, right? And Pep is one of the greatest coaches of all time. Do you think that he's just going to let the same old thing, sitting back, let the game come to them, win? Nah, he's going to adjust from that. He's going to figure it out, you know? Maybe you could say that's one of his flaws, that he's seen almost everything and he still can't win the Champions League with Manchester City. Maybe you could say that. But I truly believe that Chelsea will be a top 4 side, but they will finish behind Manchester United and Liverpool 100%. And for right now, they're looking like they're going to finish behind Manchester City, you know? And they still have great players, phenomenal players. They still have Rudiger for now. Mason Mount. They still have Kai Havertz. They still have Conte, even though he's on COVID restriction list. That will hurt them today. Against who they play? Juventus? Yeah, Juventus. I think they will be able to handle Juventus though. But yeah, man. Chelsea. They didn't have Mason Mount against Manchester City, so that's a factor. But I don't think they have a distinct style. I don't think they have great panache. Mason Mount, right? Kai Havertz. But outside of them, Lukaku. I've never seen a Lukaku out of form. It could happen this year. The Premier League is that good where teams can somewhat hold Lukaku up. And they don't have a second striker, in my opinion. Right? They have Timo Werner, but he's more of a winger. Chelsea will be fine, but they're scaring me 100%, and I'm jumping ship right now. Jump off with me. You can come back on. We have a life preserver. Just jump ship now. Anyways, the other team in Chelsea. The other team in London. Arsenal versus Spurs. Trust the process, Arsenal. Trust the process. You lose to Brentford, who hadn't been in the Premier League in like 30 to 40 to 50 to 60 years, right? Understandable loss. First game of the season. You didn't know how they're going to come out. It's one of those things. Then you lose to Manchester City. Also understandable, right? Last year's champions, perennial top 4 team at least from 2010 on, right? Then you lose to Chelsea, which also makes sense. Last year's UEFA Champions League winners. Got Lukaku back for the first game, so no one, you guys were the first ones to see him, right? It makes sense. Now you play West Brom, right? Beat West Brom. You're supposed to beat West Brom. Play Norwich. Beat Norwich. You're supposed to beat Norwich. Play Burnley. You're supposed to beat Burnley. You beat Burnley as well. And you also beat Spurs. Spurs somewhat out of form, right? You're supposed to beat Spurs. Win the games you're supposed to win. Now I believe they play Brighton next week, right? Brighton, top of the league right now. If they can win, they can win. But it's a game where they're not supposed to win. I won't say they're supposed to win against Brighton because Brighton are a team in form. But it's another game where they have another opportunity to win. Right? That's a tough one. Brighton versus Arsenal. Brighton a team in form, of course. But if they lose, I think it will be a disappointment. But they should win or at least tie. If they get a result out of Brighton, it's a plus, it's a victory in the long haul for Arsenal, right? And for Spurs is the big one, right? Everyone was on Arsenal's case, now everyone's on Spurs' case. And when you think about the Premier League season, you don't plan for things like this, right? But you sort of do, right? Where Spurs are going to have ups and downs with a new manager. Win their first 3 games, lose their last 3 games. Well, not the last 3. Yeah, their past 3 games, right? Maybe not allowing 3 goals in each of the losses. Maybe have more goals from open play, right? All of the above. But with a new coach, there's going to be ups and downs. Unless you're Chelsea, managers are going to have ups and downs. And it's fine. Right? Kane's making big news. Where's Kane? Well, where's Neymar? right? Where's Raheem Sterling? Where's, Harry Maguire? Maguire's not playing well right now. Not everyone's playing well, right? They went and they played Euros, right? They went to the farthest point in Euros this year. Not last year, this year. There's going to be some fatigue there. Mason Mount's playing decently well. Phil Foden not playing as much, right? It's the Euros fatigue. So, of course, he's not going to play as well. And as well, he didn't expect to play for Tottenham Spurs this year, right? He expected to be at Manchester City. He expected to be at Manchester United. He expected to be somewhere else, but not at Spurs. So, yes, that plays a factor into how he's going to play. I don't know who they play next game, but Messi as well. Neymar. I said Neymar. But there's multiple teams, multiple players who went deep into tournaments last year and are not playing to their peak value. Schmeichel isn't playing as well, right? There's variables to this. Kane will come around. Not every player is going to be in form 25-8. It happens. He's been in form for the past 6 years where he hasn't dropped off at all, for international and for club. I think he deserves a 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 game slump, right? He'll come around. He's a good player. There's light at the end of the tunnel, Spurs. They need to figure out their midfield, though, right? Do you play Ndombele? However you pronounce his name. Do you play him and then play, I don't know, Holberg and Oliver Skip behind him, right? What's the methodology in the midfield? I think the wingbacks are fine. The dude from left back from Barcelona, Reguilón, I think they're going to be fine. It's the right back from Barcelona. One of the two. The wingbacks. They're going to be fine. Sanchez has experience. Dyer has experience. The ship is going to fit right. I'm going to this ship. I'm jumping on the Spurs ship, jumping off the Chelsea ship. Right? Good win by Arsenal. There's light at the end of the tunnel for Spurs. Again, it's a long season. You beat the teams you're supposed to beat from here on out, Spurs. And you beat the teams you're supposed to beat from here on out, Arsenal. And they'll be in good shape. Everton beat Norwich. And I don't really care about the Champions League too much. At this moment, of course. But PSG Man City, good game. Really good game. But the game of the season so far has probably been Atletico AC Milan. Another good game. That's all I could say. I can only say that because of their highlights. So maybe if you actually watched the game, maybe the game wasn't as intense or gratifying. But from the highlights, it looked pretty good. João Felix looks more comfortable in Atletico Madrid jersey, kit, uniform, however you want to say it. And Real Madrid will as well be fine. Chelsea play Juventus today. And we're going to see Chelsea win. They'll win, I think. It's in Juventus, it's in Turin, or is it in London? I don't know. But if it's in Turin, I still think Chelsea get the victory. But anyways, the Chiefs are at the bottom of the NFL. Not the bottom of the NFL, the bottom of the division. They are sort of at the bottom of the NFL with one win. They're no better than the Patriots. They're no better than the Steelers. No better than the Dolphins. Hey, man. The NFL is a difficult league. And teams adjust. Teams figure things out. And that's the thing, man. Right? When it's interesting, when you don't get necessarily a lot better, or when you don't figure some things out, it can be a problem. And the Chiefs, they got Brown, right? Who is a great offensive lineman. But did they really get better overall? Outside of that one offensive lineman, did they get better? I don't think so. And when teams adjust, teams get better. When the Chargers get a new coach and get a new system. When the Ravens get not a new coach, but get more adjusted and they get better at the wide receiver position, they keep their defense. The defense just changed may have even gotten worse because of all the injuries they've had. But when they change, teams change. That's why the Bills were looking a little iffy, right? Because they didn't change. Look at the teams who are having the best progress this season. Either their teams just getting comfortable in their system, like Las Vegas, or it's a team like the Chargers, who got a new coach, got a new system, changing things up. There's two kinds of ways that I think you get better in the NFL. Either teams or quarterbacks get more comfortable in the team system, or you make changes. And Dallas has made changes, slight changes, not huge changes, but slight changes defensively. And look how good they look. Right? So, I think that's the main problem with the Chiefs. I think they'll figure it out. But next season, or next offseason, or during this season, they need to do something to change up the roster and make it more dynamic, make it more fun. I don't know. But they need to change something because everyone's comfortable and you can clearly see the whole NFL is comfortable as well. But it's just an interesting league, man. An interesting league. Who knew that AFC West would be so good? You know? Like, I want you guys to think about this. What's happened so far this week? So far, not this week, but these past 3 weeks in the NFL. The Packers lost to the Saints, who lost to the Panthers. The Saints lost to the Panthers. And the Panthers beat the Texans, and the Texans beat the Jaguars. Right? And I say that to say it changes so much in the NFL. And it also shows the difficulty, the level of, I was going to make up a new word there. The challenge level of the NFL. Because if you look at that, you would say the Panthers are probably the best team in the NFL right now. And they are. We talk about changes. New quarterback and players are getting more comfortable probably in the system around him. So there's changes to players getting more comfortable. It makes sense why the Panthers are doing well. It makes sense. Probably don't have the most believers. But that's fair. But still. Panthers look good, man. They changed and they got more comfortable. But keep faith alive, Jacksonville. I'm no longer calling Jacksonville Duval anymore. Because it just isn't cool anymore, man. I just want to say it's pronounced Duval. It's not pronounced the way they say it on the radio with the drawn out U's and the drawn out Vols. It's not the way they pronounce it in Jacksonville in the stadium. It's just not how you pronounce it. It's Duval. Simple, clean, honest. And I talked about last week taking steps up, taking steps back. And the Rams just come to mind when I say that, right? They taking steps up, and they also did what? The two criteria for this episode to be a successful NFL team. You change and you get more comfortable. And what have the Rams done? They've changed, right? Getting Matt Stafford, getting he's the wide receiver 11, Deshaun Jackson. Getting Deshaun Jackson. And you can't, I guess, get more comfortable in a system with Cooper Kupp, right? Or, Aaron Donald can't get really more comfortable. Jalen Ramsey can't get really any more comfortable. But they did change their defensive coordinator, right? Their defensive coordinator did go to the Chargers, if I'm not mistaken. So, maybe, yeah. Maybe. It's a change. And they're getting more comfortable in the system, I guess. I don't know. But I do know they have changed and they're already comfortable in the system. Right? But anyways, back to the Jaguars. Jaguars have not taken a full step forward, but they're starting to stand on their own a little bit. They're trying to take a step. They can't walk yet, but they're trying to take that step forward. Trevor Lawrence only threw 2 INTs this week. Progression is better than 3. He had 3 last week and 3 the week before last against the Texans. Tomorrow he plays the Bengals. Let's see how he does against the Bengals. Maybe 1 interception. Maybe it's a trend. He threw 2 games of 3 interceptions. So it'll be 1 game of 2 interceptions and 0 games of 1 interceptions. If you get my math, you get my math. Nothing more, nothing less. As well, last week, Jaguars lose. Game's over by halftime. Texans, Jaguars lose. Game's over by halftime. You could say probably in the first quarter against the Texans, right? But this week, when's the game over? 4th quarter. So now you're getting more competitive longer. Trevor Lawrence throwing less interceptions. Right? No pick 6. What happens? Right? They still probably lose. Josh Lambo hits those field goals. Still probably, not field goals, extra points. They still probably lose. But I believe they lost by double digits, now single digits. So there's more to it, and they're making steps forward. I think they simplified the offense a little bit. Trevor Lawrence had a good touchdown. So the signs are there. Sort of just like with Zach Wilson. The signs are there, ladies and gentlemen. The signs are there. You can't say anything about Trey Lance. Justin Fields. Only thing I will say about Justin Fields is it's sort of like a Harry Kane scenario. Where Harry Kane didn't expect to play for Spurs. I don't think Justin Fields has really expected to play for the Bears. I think he's a rookie. So the backup quarterback, and he's been a starter his whole life. So the backup quarterback mentality of always being ready on the go and just being hot as soon as he gets the call is new for him. So him playing, I guess, not up to par is a little understandable. But I don't know if Andy Dalton comes back next week. But if he does, whatever. But if Justin Fields does start next week, then I think he'll be in good shape. I think he'll do a lot better. Right? And for just Zach Wilson, playing in Denver, tough game, tough atmosphere. Right? Played the Saints, not Zach Wilson, but Mac Jones played the Saints. Good team, experienced team, comfortable team. comfortable in the scheme, comfortable in the system, it's going to work. This is in-depth NFL analysis. Take notes, ladies and gentlemen. Right? Back to the Jaguars, though. Josh Lambo, of course, missed the extra points. And usually things like that, extra points, penalties, when teams blame, or players or whomever blame whatever on penalties and extra points, it's sort of I don't really totally understand it. Jaguars wouldn't have won the game even if they made all the extra points anyways. A few weeks back, I saw a team complaining about penalties, and they just weren't as good as the other team. That's what it was. Even though the other team lost. But, talking about college football here. But still. I'm talking about a college football game, But anyways. Jaguars are getting better. Lambeau's going to be fine. And everything else in the NFL, outside of the Raiders and the Broncos, is going to the NFL's master plan. Everything's going fine. And week 4, I think it's going to still go to the master plan. And if anyone doesn't know what the master plan is, the NFL strategically schedules games certain ways, and they strategically do things certain ways so they get certain teams in certain positions so they're in better positions to make the playoffs. If you didn't know, check it out. Check out the Bills' schedule. Check out the Ravens' schedule. Check out the Browns' schedule. I don't think this is really a secret, but it's just how it is. Everything is going according to plan, I believe. So, I guess we'll get into predictions now. Predictions. Most likely on American football and other sports I don't know a lot about. Like ping pong. Predictions. And this week on predictions, we will not be as rapid fire. We'll not have the rapid fire effect as we did last week. It's going to be moderate fire. Right? Moderate fire, rapid fire predictions. Jaguars versus Bengals. We'll not be watching this game because I have a test and I'm a good student. It's not because I can't watch NFL Network. But I do have a test, and I probably shouldn't be watching the Jaguars. So all in all, it's probably a good thing. I have the Jaguars winning against the Bengals. First game of the season. Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, national championship. They like playing each other. The battle of the cats. Back in the day, it was 2 Tigers. Now it's the Jaguars versus the Tigers. Or Bengals. I got the Jaguars. Titans versus Jets. The division leaders versus division bottom dwellers. In 2 different divisions, but still. Leaders versus bottom dwellers. The Titans will win, but it will be a close game. Until the 4th quarter like the Jaguars. I think the Titans decide to stretch it out. They play Derrick Henry a little bit more. Tannehill gets a little bit more comfortable. No more panic. Titans win in a close game until the 4th quarter. Lions versus Bears. As I said, I'm still on the Justin Fields bandwagon. 1 game. And it's the Harry Kane effect, where he probably didn't expect to play. This early, at least. But the Lions have been playing well. Are they still on the list of teams that the Jaguars can beat on a good, bad, or mediocre day? No. It's just the Jets now. The Jets are the only team the Jaguars can beat at this moment in time. That I believe that if the Jaguars played them on a bad day, they beat them. On a mediocre day, they beat them. And on a good day, they beat them, no matter what. Lions, beatable. But the Jaguars can't have a bad game against them because they will lose. I'm going with the Lions for their first win of the season. And the NFC North is looking good. It's looking good. Lions look like a team that can do some damage. The Vikings already beat the NFC, not the NFC. Yeah, already beat my prediction for the NFC West. The Seahawks. Still sticking to that prediction. Still sticking to all my predictions. I haven't jumped ship on any predictions so far. But good win by the Vikings. The NFC North is decent, man. The Packers, the Bears, the Lions. The Bears and the Lions are no longer those teams. Well, they weren't last year, really. The Lions sort of were. But they're not those teams, the bottom dwellers, where, this is a guaranteed victory. That's the kind of game is, not the kind of game is. The Lions are a kind of team that if you overlook them, they will beat you. Right? The Vikings, I believe that's what happened with the Seahawks. They overlooked them, and that's what happened. So, Lions, Bears, I got the Lions. Colts, Dolphins. This is a toss-up. It's like the Giants, Falcons last week, right? Where the Falcons won. But I'm going with the Colts. Browns, Vikings. I'll go with the Vikings on this one. Again, the NFC North looked good. Maybe as good as the NFC West. I think the bottom is not as low, if that makes sense. I don't think the NFC, I think the NFC West bottom, the San Francisco 49ers so far. I think their ceiling's a little bit higher than the Lions and the Bears at this moment in time. Of course, 49ers have beaten the Lions, but that was week 1. Two totally different teams already in week 4, week 3, whatever week you want to call this. At the top is congested though. It's definitely crowded. Definitely crowded at the top with the Packers, the Vikings, the Rams may be a little bit ahead of both teams. But the Cardinals, I don't think are that much better than the Vikings or the Packers at this moment in time. Who knew that the NFC West, the AFC West, well, people knew the NFC West, the AFC West, and the NFC North, most surprising division so far this season. It will even out by the end of the season, though. We'll really see who's the best division, best conference by the end of the season. Washington football team against Atlanta, another toss-up. Want to go with Atlanta. But I'm going with the football team, Washington football team. Every time the Atlanta Falcons play an NFC East team, it's going to be a toss-up. It's going to be a toss-up. No matter what. And I'm seeing that. There's a trend, ladies and gentlemen. You got to catch the trends. Catch the trends. Texans, Bills. I think it's already cold in Buffalo, so I'm going with the Texans. And again, this is part of the NFL's master plan. They didn't expect the Bills to really lose to the Steelers, but what they expected was they get a good win against the Steelers. The Steelers probably go 2-1. They probably plan for the Steelers to be 2-1 right now. Expect a loss against the Buffalo Bills, but say, look, they got a good win against the Steelers. They're roughing up the Dolphins. They're roughing up the football team. So These guys are legit. Pump your brakes on the Bills. Pump your brakes on the Bills. Good team, but pump your brakes. Right? Steelers. Man, I want to talk about the Steelers real quick. I just quickly touched on them. But the Steelers lost against the Bengals. Sort of like Spurs, man. Sort of like Spurs. You're going to be fine. There's light at the end of the tunnel. They changed, but they haven't gotten comfortable yet. They just haven't gotten comfortable yet. I think... I don't remember who they play this week, but it is a tough one. I have it further down the script. But I think they lose again this week. Right? We'll get to that when we get to their predictions. Right? But anywho, they will be just fine though. Giants versus Saints. Are the Saints playing in Jacksonville again? That doesn't really matter, but I still got the Saints. Right? The Giants will be potentially on 4 after the end of this week. And that was fine. Perfectly fine. Give Daniel Jones another year without pressure, and I guarantee you will see the fruits of your labor, Giants fans. Guaranteed. They will make the playoffs next year. Just give him some more time. Give him some more time. He doesn't have the best weapons around him. Shepard, I believe, is injured. Saquon Barkley is getting up to speed. It's just an adjustment phase for the New York Giants. They're getting comfortable in their system. Comfortability, ladies and gentlemen. How comfortable are you? Right? Giants can get a good wide receiver in free agency, maybe draft a good wide receiver. Just depends. But what I'm saying is, give Daniel Jones some time, even if he does go 2-15 this year, 3-14, 4-11, 5-10, 6-11. You know what I mean. You're picking up what I'm getting down. It's 4-12, 4-13 this year now, not 4-11. But anyways, Giants will be fine. Chiefs, Eagles. This is a tougher game than it looks like. You would think the Chiefs, after not a bad loss to the Chargers, but a loss we did not expect from the Chiefs against the Chargers last week. It's in Philadelphia, you know. It's a trap game. It's one of those trap games where you sort of expect the Chiefs to win. They come out guns a-blazing, had a bad loss. But will Andy Reid be there? Hopefully he's not there. Health over wins. You already won a Super Bowl, Andy. Take a break. We don't want to see an NFL coach pass away in the middle of the season. Get well soon. I'm choosing the Chiefs, though. They have the third best quarterback in the league. Yes, the third best quarterback in the league. Behind Aaron Rodgers. And say it with me. And behind Lamar Jackson. Yes, Lamar Jackson is the second best quarterback in the league. Panthers. Top of the NFC South, NFC South. I need to start getting my divisions correct. But Panthers, top of the NFC South. And they'll still be at the top next week. But they may be tied with the Buccaneers and the Saints. They'll be above the Saints because of the tiebreak. But record-wise, I think they'll be tied next week. Panthers look good, though. And the Panthers play the Cowboys. Hopefully the Cowboys can... I believe the Cowboys will win. Only because they have better uniforms. Carolina Panthers have... And the problem with the Carolina Panthers really is not their color scheme. It's really the uniforms. The stripe... That blue stripe or the black stripe, whatever the stripe is blue stripe for away uniforms, blue stripes for black uniforms. I think it's black stripe for, of course, or maybe a white. I think it's a black stripe for their light blue, sky blue uniforms. They need to just edit the jerseys. Good color scheme, though. Potential's there. Good logo. Clean logo. Clean stadium. That looks like a clean stadium. Panther Stadium. But anyways, man. New uniforms and the road to a Super Bowl will be in your sights for the Panthers. The NFL's not going to let a team with those uniforms win the Super Bowl. Jaguars. Start wearing the teal pants, man. They don't work. Black pants, white pants. Anyways. 49ers Seahawks. Another toss-up game. But I'm going with the Seahawks. I'm going with the Seahawks. Yeah, I'm just going to go with the Seahawks. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Seahawks. 3-0 versus 3-0. Cardinals, Rams. I got the Rams. Will I have the Rams after week 10 when the NFL gets adjusted to their scheme and it gets a little bit more congested? I don't know. It depends on the season, depends on how bad the allergies are, right? It depends what medications they're taking. There's a lot of factors that goes into it. But I have the Rams this week to go 4-0 over the Cardinals. Cardinals 3-1. Next, they could either be second in the division. Well, they will 100% be second in the division. They could be tied for second or second outright, depending on the Seahawks 49ers game. Steelers Packers. Yes, this is who the Steelers play. They play them in Wisconsin, in Green Bay. Yes, Packers. But week 5. Expect, if they don't have a bye week, even better if they have a bye week, honestly, week 5, the Steelers. But Steelers, they're going to right the ship at the end of this week. Week 4, they may lose, only because the Packers are honestly better than them, not because it's a chemistry thing. It'll be a closer game than most people predict, probably. Probably isn't even that far of a... It probably is going to be a close game in most people's opinions anyways, but the Steelers get better. Steelers will right the ship this week, even though they will lose to the Packers. Ravens, Broncos. Another toss. It's tough because the Broncos are playing very well, but it's in Denver. I'm going with the Ravens. Ravens sort of need this game. So to assert themselves a little bit more that we're legit. They lost to the Raiders already, so they need, again, in the AFC North, out-of-conference games matter a little bit more. That's why the Bengals-Jaguars game is going to be a good game, because the Bengals need to win that game. Because there's a good chance the Steelers will come back and beat the Bengals in Cincinnati. And it's going to be a lot of split series in that series. I'll be surprised if any team goes 2-0 against more than 2 teams in that series. Maybe the Browns go 2-0 against the Bengals. Maybe the Steelers go 2-0 against the Browns. But I don't expect the Steelers to go 2-0 against the Browns and the Ravens. The Bengals to go 2-0 against the Steelers and the Ravens, right? Or the Steelers and the Browns, right? It's just one of those divisions where maybe they may not be the best division overall. But they're very similar in skill set. And one more thing. I remember Odell saying earlier when they got traded, the Giants traded him for his career to waste away. And for right now, it's true. And I'm not saying that to be a negative Nancy or be a pessimist on Odell Beckham and say his career is over. His career is far from over. But I just need for Odell Beckham to know you need to prove him wrong. It's time to step up. Injured, of course. But when you come back, Odell, this just is a thought that came to mind when I was writing the script yesterday. And I said, wow, the Giants so far are correct in that move. I believe they got Peppers, who's been solid for them. Odell, and when you come back and when you're healthy, I just need for you to show up selfishly, of course. You're already, I don't know if he's Hall of Fame. That's not for me to decide. But Odell, come back, man. Come back strong. Anywho, Bucks, Patriots, Tampa Bay all the way. This may be the most lopsided game of the week. Well, this was the easiest one by far, not a toss-up. But I don't think it's going to be close. I really don't think it's going to be close. Not because the Patriots lost to the Saints last week, but primarily because the Bucks lost to the Rams last week. And Tom Brady had this game circled on his calendar 3 years before when he was still in New England. And the Bucks sort of need the game to go 2-2 after you start 2-0. A lot of parallels to the NFL and the Spurs. A lot of parallels. Anyways. And for the second time in 4 weeks, the Raiders will be playing on Monday night. You would think that everyone gets a fair shot. Everyone gets one game. But clearly not. The Raiders play twice. And they play the Chargers. It's a problem with the NFL, man. Too many toss-ups. Too many close games. Anyways. LA versus the Raiders. I believe it's in Los Angeles. And here's my pet peeve with Los Angeles. Not my pet peeve, but my complaint against Los Angeles. Or the question I have. Are they replacing the turf every game between the Rams and the Chargers? Like fully, completely changing it? Or are they just changing the logos and the touchdowns? Because they change the logos and the touchdowns, even though the logo is about 20 yards, 20 to 15 yards, and most of the game is played there. Is the field getting broken in? Is the field getting broken in? Because if they're completely, fully changing the turf, the field's not going to be broken in. And in a few years, not a few years, but later in the season, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of Chargers injuries, if we see a lot of Rams injuries. Wouldn't be shocked. See, in New York, that grass is conditioned. It gets snowed on. It gets rained on. It gets stepped on. Cats run on it. All the above. It's broken in. My only concern is the SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles getting broken into. And that's my only worry. And not currently. That's why I somewhat say later in the season, Rams, will I be picking them as efficiently or as easily? Even though I didn't pick them last week. Because that kind of stuff wears on teams. Maybe it's state-of-the-art turf, artificial turf, but it still matters. It needs to be broken in and not rolled up every game, rolled back out every game. And it just, it's just how I feel. Right? At least in Buffalo, it's getting broken into every week. Every other week or every week, a team's running on it. It's not constantly being pulled up than being put down. It's used to be more frequent, I believe. If that makes sense. But that's my only complaint. Who do I have? The Chargers or the Raiders? think I'm going with the Raiders. No. The Chargers. There will be parity in the AFC West. There will be the Chargers 3-1, Raiders 3-1, and the Broncos 3-1. If the predictions go according to plan. It's a lot of parity in the NFL. NFL, best season since 2020. Best season since 2020. To the 2021-2022 NFL season. NFL is actually, for the first time in a while, better than college football. College football is having an off year this year. Understandable. You've been carrying the sport of American football for a good time now. But it's just that time. NFL is better than it's ever been. And FAMU had a bye week last week. Play this week, Alabama State University. I'll analyze that game on next episode of the Peng Sports Podcast, Podcast 32. And I have no clue on the WNBA. No clue. Have not an idea how it works, the inner workings of the WNBA. I thought that the top 2 seeds go through, and I think they do, but if that were the case, then I believe the Storm and the Mercury would be the top 2 seeds, and they would have played like the Sky or something. But apparently that doesn't work that way. I don't really know how it works, so I'm not really going to say anything on it. So with me saying that, I'm going to pick the winners of the WNBA semifinals. Yes, very convenient of me after the Aces have won and after the Sky have pulled a surprising upset against the Sun. Very convenient of me to pick, and it's a 3 out of 5 game series. It's not a 4 out of 7. It's a 3 out of 5. But no, I'm not going to pick any games. I clearly don't respect the game enough because I don't know rules. So maybe I shouldn't pick the teams who are going to win. But it's going to be good basketball. It's going to be the best basketball you will see for at least, I won't say 12 months, but 6 months. Months. This is going to be better than the NBA. This is going to be better. This is the best basketball you're going to get. It's going to be fun, NBA coming back, but this is the best, most high quality H2O basketball you're going to get. You will also be getting good quality baseball coming up soon. Not that the quality of baseball is bad now, just actually more intense baseball. Coming up, playoffs coming up, we will discuss the MLB next week. MLB, FAMU, so you have stuff to look forward to next week. So finish out the week strong. And I'm Kamaal Daniels, and this is the Peng Sports Podcast, episode 31. And this is a chiller podcast, man. Yes, it wasn't as enthusiastic as episode 30. But sometimes you just gotta relax, take a break. This podcast, you gotta listen to when you're driving from Miami to Atlanta, or Houston and Los Angeles, or Seattle to San Francisco. This is the Chill Podcast. And that won't be the name of the podcast. But take a break. Take a deep breath. Do some yoga while you listen to this podcast. You know? Maybe I should say this in the beginning. But this is the Peng Sports Podcast, episode 32. It's next week. This is episode 31. I'm Kamaal Daniels, and have a good week.
pose. C'est si bon quand on se pose. Plus de questions et qu'on ose ouvrir enfin les bras.